Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in marketing to technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues and industry friends of mine who will stop by to tell you their stories. And my goal is that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a quick shout out to TREW Marketing. TREW is a content marketing agency based in beautiful Austin, Texas, and serves companies focused in technical industries. For more information, visit trewmarketing.com. And now on with our podcast. Well, today I'm here with Jeff Mendelson. He's a fellow marketing agency owner and a podcast host of The One Big Tip. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Great. Let's start by learning a bit about your career journey and what led you into digital marketing.
I have been working in various corporate jobs as I started out as a programmer. Then I was mostly in like pre-sales positions, other types of sales positions that had a technical slant, sometimes technical support, things like that. So I've always been on the technical side of, trying to make a business money, right? And what happened was I just got really disillusioned with being fired so many times from my job, either from layoffs or from different types of, changes in, we're going to move you over to this department or that, something, I'm done. So when I got fired for the last time 11 years ago, I was, I was at both very excited that, okay, fine, I can finally get everything, I can finally start doing what I want to do, the hell with everyone else. And at the same time, I was like, geez, what am I going to do about this $5 a day Starbucks habit? And how am I going to pay for the diapers and the mortgage and all that other stuff?
Yeah,
And
real world problems.
Real world problems, right? And then 11 years later, I'm still kicking it. So it's it's exciting. It's exciting to say the least.
Well, I know that you have a lot to offer today to our listeners on digital marketing because you've been at this for a while. So let's start with talking about, and today we're not just going to talk about digital marketing, we're going to be talking about retargeting. So before we dive in, for the 2% of you out there that don't know what retargeting is, we're going to help you out real fast. So retargeting is a form of online advertising where targeted ads are served up to users based on previous actions they've taken. And this is a really big tactic for B2C companies. And they were the ones that pioneered this strategy, but B2B companies are also adopting retargeting. So just as for an example, I was on a website recently for test instrumentation, and that same instrument I looked at showed up on various other sites I visited, not only days, but even weeks later. Jeff, anything to add on the definition of retargeting?
Not so much the definition, but let's just talk about how cheap it is in order to do that. This is not primary traffic, right? This is not traffic that you have to pay $10, $15, $20 a click in order to get. So this is basically your traffic that you are paying to promote out. That it's basically traffic you already had, right? So Facebook and Google are not charging you those really high prices to display those ads. Again, so it's retargeted traffic is really a fraction of what primary traffic costs, and it really is the lowest hanging fruit that you can implement. I mean, if you're going to do anything with a paid strategy, if you only have, like $300, $500 a month to spend, and that the keywords that you're bidding for are really expensive, then the only thing you should be considering, at least to start, is retargeting, because someone's coming to your site and they see it once and then they click off because no one buys on the first thing. I mean, nobody's copy is that good that they, you got to buy right away. But it really is the best way to keep your product and to keep your brand on top of mind. And it's so cheap to do so.
And what's interesting is for technical companies, many of them have a very long sales cycle. I'm talking 12 to 18 months. And so would you advocate this as a means to just stay top of mind during that long sales cycle?
Yes, and what you can do is that you can integrate it with, with other initiatives. So, say for example, somebody visits your product page, right, and they don't enter in their email address. They don't want to set up a demo call. They don't. They're just not there yet. Okay, fine. So as you're retargeting them, you can send them to softer contacts with your company. So a week later, you can show them a page that, hey, read our case study, right? So reading our case study is not setting up a demo. I'm not committing to getting on the phone with anybody. I'm giving my email address again, but now I'm going to read a little bit more, right? And all of that becomes, information in your CRM that this person
Yeah, yeah.
has visited the site at least once. They've downloaded one, two, three, four of our case studies, or other materials. They visited a couple of the profiles of the leaders of the company, things like that. It really helps in painting a picture of what type of person this is, whether it's a consumer or another company that you're going to be targeting, because you see how they interact with your site over time, even if they're not even at the buying stage. And even when they do get to the buying stage, it gives you all the more information. Like, yeah, I know you were looking at our site yesterday. It can be a little creepy, but at the same time, you do want to know that information, because when you get on the phone with this person, you want to know that he visited your site, or like 15 pages of your site within the past 5 days. That means that they're interested. That means that they're engaged and interested, and they prepared for their call with you. So it's on you then to bring the energy you know, to give them the information, and to deliver the value in order to move the sales process forward.
Yeah, you can see that they've done their homework and all of those steps that they took and it's just amazing, right? We used to not have that type of visibility before digital marketing. And so I just get so giddy about having all that data at my fingertips. I think I want to just reiterate something else that you pointed out is you said use a case study or white paper or some piece of content that helps them along their journey and then educates. So I like that strategy for B2B, that it's not just let's have this product ad essentially follow you around, but let's do something to help
Exactly.
you go a little
Yeah,
bit
I mean,
deeper
it's
in
a
your
good
buyer's journey.
it's a
So
good
I
way
think
to
that was
keep
a good
people
tip.
engaged. And again, it's not a lot of money, considering what effort you needed to take in order to bring them into your sphere of influence anyways. Whether you got their business card at a convention. Going to a convention is, a $5,000 to $10,000 ordeal, after you figure in airfare and hotel and fees to go to these conventions and all that. So you are spending real, yeah, yeah, when they're held.
Yeah, when they're held, right? When it's not,
You
yeah,
know,
when
but
it's not
the
COVID-19
but
shelter
it
in
is
place
important
and
for
all
you
that good stuff.
to keep in mind that, you're not always going to light up someone on the first try. So you have another 20 tries to do it, and you might as well just take advantage of that.
Yeah. Well, tell me, what are some of the key ways to know whether or not retargeting is working for your business?
I think the best way to think about it is how many click-throughs and how many engagements you get, right? Even if it's just, like, at the lowest level, showing your logo again, or making sure that people understand that, you're still around. That's almost worth its price, right? Of course, you do want to be engaging about it. You don't want to be creepy, but you do want to, it's your traffic. You want to make sure that these people are in fact engaging, and they know that you're still around. And I think that's really the biggest part. You may not necessarily, close a sale because of it. You can't, like, I think that if you had to go to your CEO and say, well, our retargeting campaign helped us close 20%, yeah, that's kind of a far stretch. I
Absolutely, it would be, right? Yeah.
but it is a spoke in the wheel
Uh-huh.
that helps you that helps you bring that traffic back again and again. I think the ultimate attribution for what closes sale is probably going to be, the tremendous value that your product brings or the great salesman that you have in your company, right? It's one of those two.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's also the great content that you're putting together, and how funny or how engaging or how straightforward your ads are. It really makes a difference in the overall scheme of things in order to bring people back to visiting your site.
Are there any particular ads you can think of or pieces of content that have performed well for you in the past?
I think the best ones are the ones that don't say like, "Hey, we're retargeting you," right? Or, of course, the comeback coupons. Those are always good. But also, you can think about different ways of, Facebook allows you to do all these different types of campaigns. So you can retarget an ad that brings the person into your Facebook Messenger in order to initiate a conversation, right? Or you can have a Facebook lead ad where they don't leave the Facebook experience. They type in their name, phone number, and email address right there in Facebook, and then that gets transmitted over to us, right? So someone who's, going through their Facebook feed, at 10 o'clock at night is not going to get on a computer and fill out this whole big form, or about, or even when you have them click over to the site in order to find the form on the little screen and then type it out. It's Facebook already gives you a lot of these tools in order to capture that information.
Hmm.
So it's a really good idea to test all of those different modalities to see which one works for your business.
Yeah, and that's an important point. We see behavior of at least engineers and technical buyers that they're not really going to Facebook, for instance, as much, but LinkedIn and YouTube are very popular. So really just trying out to see what works best with your target persona, in testing different places. Tell me,
Exactly. I mean,
go ahead.
go ahead.
I
No, no,
was
go ahead.
yeah. So I'm curious about leading platforms that offer retargeting. So how do you manage this?
I'd say the big two are Google and Facebook, right?
Hmm.
There are other platforms that, if you can also advertise, for example, on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, the tools are, they're still kind of expensive, but that's because the targeting that you are the audience that you're speaking to are much more are much more in tune. They have a lot more data there, which is what makes them, a little bit more expensive. There are other platforms that allow you to, retarget into different places. But at the end of the day, what they're using is, Google's display network, or they're tapping into Facebook's, and they're putting their own premium on the same product that the big two already give to you,
I
right?
see.
So
Yeah.
I don't see a big difference in trying to use one of those. You might as well get used to the tools, the native tools that Google and Facebook offer you today.
Got it. Okay. Good advice. Well, I'm curious to hear a little bit about your agency. As a fellow agency owner, it's always nice to meet others like myself, and I know you've been at it for quite a while now. What do you love best about what you do?
The freedom.
Yeah.
The freedom to take my laptop and work from anywhere, and to be able to engage with different businesses, all at the same time, right? So last year, for example, my wife she had a week-long course in London, and I flew over to be with her over there. Why? The hotel room was already paid for. I literally took an overnight flight, landed there in the morning, dropped my bags off at the hotel. There was a WeWork 2 blocks away. Checked in, and just continued working.
Yeah.
And then after her class, we met up. And what's cool about it is that I didn't lose a day. I didn't need to tell my clients, "Oh, I'm going to London, guys. Don't talk to me for a couple of days." No, we don't need to do that anymore. T-Mobile on our phones doesn't charge exorbitant fees for roaming. It's very easy to stay connected in just about anywhere that you go in the world. So it becomes a why not question. Like, why do I need to sit here and be in the same place? it is so much more creative to sit in another office and just see other people walking around and meet new people. You always end up striking a conversation, with somebody, and sometimes you may just be sitting next to a CTO of some startup of for something that really interests you, and you just never really would get that if you just stay in your own little bubble.
I could see
So
you
for me, the answer
striking
to the
up
question
some
is
conversations at a WeWork. I can envision this.
yeah, no. So what happens is that sometimes it comes from the damnedest things, right? So like I'm trying to plug in my laptop, right? And then one guy's like, "Hey, you're American." It's like, really? How'd you know that? Oh, he's looking at the plug of, I had to put on the little adapter so I can plug it into a European plug,
Uh-huh.
something like that. And then, like somebody will call me up and I switch to a different language. I speak Spanish and Hebrew fluently, and I'm learning Portuguese as
Oh,
well.
wow.
So so when they hear me switch languages, it's like, whoa, wait a second, like who the hell are you? Like, and when you go to these places, it's a conversation, it's an icebreaker, it's a conversation starter,
Yeah.
right? And you know, even even in some non-traditional places that you go to, people genuinely want to meet people from other countries. And WeWorks usually have, in the big cities, they usually have the best views of the city, so you just go over there. There was one time I took my kids to Hong Kong 2 years ago, right around this time. And what happened was I had a client that said, "Hey, we need you to sign a contract," right? So I'm like, "Great, where am I going to find a printer, here in Hong Kong?" So I ducked into a WeWork and I printed it out. The staff there was very helpful, and my kids were with me, so they were just like, "Hey, Dad, can we just sit here for a while because it's really hot outside?"
Drink a
And they
latte
just
and
yeah, drink a latte, and they just Netflix for the next 3 hours. I ended up speaking with these, two nice people from India that were, working in Hong Kong, and it's really interesting to find out, like how they ended up there. It's really is a cosmopolitan city. So it was great that I was able to do it. It was great that I was able to take my kids and give them that experience,
yeah.
all while not losing a day of work. And I think that's really the most important. That it really is that kind of freedom that I don't, I just didn't schedule any conference calls during those 2 weeks that I was gone.
Right.
But my clients really didn't know, nor should they really care
No, you're getting the job
where I
done.
was.
Hmm.
Yeah, the work's getting done, so why not?
Yeah. So now you're going to be retargeted by all sorts of companies in different parts of the world from your travels, or at least you were.
Yeah, so what happens is that you visit these sites, right? And then I start getting all these ads in Chinese, and then that sort of lasts for about another 5 to 7 days, and then like you land on your layover in San Francisco, for example, and then you start seeing those ads, and it's just really funny how they follow you like that. You can usually attribute those retargeting ads as you're prancing around the world, that if they set it up correctly, then it really shouldn't follow you all that much. For paid ads, what's really interesting for me is the ones that try to save some money and do it themselves. I'll give you an example. I was working at a Starbucks in Mexico City a couple of years ago, and I got this. I was looking up something for a catering company that I do work for, right? And then I see this ad for a catering company in Brooklyn, right? And I'm just thinking to myself, why would a catering company in Brooklyn set up their ads worldwide? Like
No
seriously,
kidding.
they're not going to ship their food to New Jersey, much less Mexico City, right? So and it even caused me at that point to send a note like, "Hey guys, I'm currently in Mexico City. I'm seeing your ad. Obviously, you guys are wasting money. If you want to, if you need some professional help, let me know." Um, I didn't get that job, right? But at least I stopped seeing their ads like within a couple of days. And
Yes,
that's
yeah.
important because
Wasted
it's like
spend.
that is such wasted spend. And it's so easy not to do it. But, there's a lot of amateurs out there. And, all of these tools are self serve anyways. If you can handle it, like if you're able to set this up yourself, go for it. Please do it. It'll bring nothing but blessings for your business. But if you don't, it can be the biggest money suck you've ever seen.
Yeah. And I think it's good advice to just be very thoughtful when you set this up. And I know for the industry that I'm focused in, engineers are very skeptical already of being marketed to, being sold to. And so we've been very cautious about when we use retargeting and thoughtful about what it is that we're retargeting with. And what will happen with engineers is as B2C things, like let's say chat, for example, Bank of America, right? They're going to chat with you, or everywhere you log in now, it's online chat. So engineers didn't want to touch that chat box. They're being trained through B2C on that behavior. And the same thing I think is happening with remarketing and retargeting. People are used to it now. They see it. They know what it is. It's no longer this novelty of what is that? And why is Nordstrom following me all over the internet? They know now. And so I think it's become more accepted, but it's still something to be just careful of, to have the targeting right, to the right context, the right offer. So that's probably my advice for this audience.
That's really true. You really want to, you don't want to creep people out.
Yeah.
You don't want to say, hey man, I'm following you, but you do want to deliver value. And if you have the opportunity to deliver value, then great.
Yeah.
Deliver away. And I think your customers will be better for it.
Yeah. So tell me, how do you describe an ideal client for your agency?
For me, an ideal client is someone who is more or less established and has a budget already predetermined that they can spend that budget without breaking a sweat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's real important. So first of all, that knocks out all of the, hey, I have this great idea, people.
I have no product, but a really good idea, and no customers.
Yeah, and no customers yet, right? Yeah, and when I make money, you make money. So it's like, okay, yeah, buddy, I'm not in that business.
Will you take shares instead of payment?
No, thank you very much. So what happens is that what I'm really looking for is their, whether they've done this before, because it's very straining for me to try to emphatically convince somebody that a particular marketing venue is the way to go, right? If they don't already have the religion about or the faith, I should say, on why it's effective, then I don't necessarily want to be the one to train them one-on-one. I'll be happy to do it on my podcast, right? Because that's what I do. I talk to marketers all the time, right? But I don't want to sit there and try to sell you on the basics of why marketing works and why marketing doesn't work. I would really hope that all that training's been done already. Like, I expected you to go to university before you come to me. Mm-hmm. The second part is that they do have a budget, and they understand their goals, and they understand how it works. And I think the biggest thing is, how are we going to measure success? Some of my clients measure success by the number of emails that fill out for their lead magnet. And that's great, because if you're doing this type of work for a doctor, right, I'm never going to know the profitability of a particular patient that comes in, because of HIPAA laws. I don't look in their CRM to see whether this person became a patient or not. So my best guess is, if they bother to pick up the phone, which of course I'm running through a call tracking number, or if they filled out an email form and they visited the site 2 or 3 times, I can assume that they're interested and engaged, and they probably ended up becoming a patient. But I'll never know the true value of that. Whereas with an e-commerce site, yeah, it's black and white. Did the person buy? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right. So it really comes down to defining those goals. And no one wants to get the phone call, well, you're not doing a good job because I'm not getting more customers. Like, really? Did you pick up the phone? Because I have 5 calls on the call tracking thing that shows that it went right to voicemail.
Yikes.
So okay, I hate to be the messenger here, but I've caused lots of internal fights inside companies because I've proven to them that my stuff's working. You guys need to clean up your house.
Yes. Well, and it goes to show why marketing and sales need to have a close relationship and a very solid process for what that handoff is.
Exactly. If you don't have that, then you could either look to someone like myself to listen to what I'm preaching, right? Because sometimes I bring in like other tools, like project management tools or other type of help desk tools, just to help you understand where these leads are coming in. But if you already have a process, then great. But it should be in working order. You're not necessarily hiring me to fix the house. I mean, unless you're bringing me in as a part-time CMO, but that's few and far in between.
Well, let's shift gears a bit because I want to make sure we have time to talk about your podcast called The One Big Tip. So I think I know what it's about, but lay it on me.
So the One Big Tip is a short format podcast where I bring guests on and we talk about one specific tip that is actionable and tangible that helps them in their business and that they'd like to share with others. So it's usually about 10 to 15 minutes recorded max. And usually the one big tip, it's not so much the what. It's not like what the one big tip is, but the how. How do you implement it, right? And if you can articulate how to implement it and how it propels your business forward, then that for me is a good one big tip. Now, you get a lot of people that are like, well, I want to talk about time management. Okay, well, great. There are lots of, I've already had like 30 people on that talked about time management. Each one comes with a little bit of a different of a different slant on it. I had one guy that keeps those little composition books in his pocket, right? And that's his tip. I think it's great. I think it's for a podcast that has a short format, right? So it's very digestible. It's about as much time as you're going to spend in the car going to the grocery store, right? It's not like one of those hour-long interview fests where you get to know them and their kids and how they grew up type thing. It's not one of those shows.
Yep.
So we get into our intros, segue into the one big tip, and then usually there's a way to reach out and contact these people directly. And one of the things that I find is that a lot of people, first of all, podcasting it's the ultimate networking tool, right? And I didn't realize it up until like, oh my God, I'm talking to so many interesting people that I never really would have spoken with unless I, in any other venue. Like, where else would I have met this guy? This Silicon Valley venture capitalist. Maybe at a convention. Would he have even spoken with me at a convention? If I would have walked up to him and meet him, but no. Now he just gave me half an hour, 45 minutes of his time, and we talked about everything from how to value your startup to I think we also talked for like 10 minutes on the Mandalorian and why that's such a great show. Because you find the common interest there as well. And I think what you find is that a lot of people who you think like, oh, that they're too high up, I can't talk to them. No, they're just as human, drink the same water,
they're people,
eat the same foods. They're people as well, and they want to talk as well. I mean, think about it. For them to have a stimulating conversation with somebody is it's also something that they crave, and it's great. It's a really great networking tool, and I'm surprised myself at the traction that their podcast has gotten so far.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So tease me a little bit with the subject matter of your favorite episode.
Subject matter of my favorite episode so far is I think it's episode 30 with Travis Brown.
Okay.
And his one big tip is every person who likes or engages with your content on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, what he does is that he doesn't send them he doesn't direct message them, with words. He direct messages them with voice.
Oh.
Right. So what happens is that if I message you on Instagram, you can open up the message and be like, oh, you read the thing and it's now the guy's trying to solicit me. I'm not going to answer. Right. But if you leave a voice memo, right, they don't know what it is because it's not transcribed. They just have this little blue thing with waveform. And it's like, now you got to listen to it.
It's mysterious.
Right. It's mysterious. You don't know what it is. Right. And you got to listen to it. And what he does is, he takes them, takes them about 30 seconds of research to find out, what the person's name is, what their jam is. And he will just leave a message saying, hey, Wendy, I saw that you like my stuff. Please, I think it's great what you're doing with, what you're doing in your space. If there's anything I can help you out with, please feel free to let me know. No selling, no, hey, join my Facebook group, no hard selling. It's just, and the most important thing that he said is try to use their name at least more than once. People love hearing their name spoken. It's like music to their ears.
Right.
And, you get some really good feedback from that, because nobody's doing it, right? And the ones that do it, like I've had that happen to me, maybe like I can count on one hand how many times that's happened to me. But each time it's been memorable, right? Like I'll remember, oh yeah, you're the guy who voice messaged me. You're the guy that made that quick video with your phone to introduce yourself as opposed to just sending a note.
Yeah, it definitely
It is
does
so much more
stand
engaging.
out. And I will say just this week, I received, it wasn't an audio one, it was a video version of what you're describing. And the script was almost exactly what you just described. And while I'm not interested in having a business relationship with this person, I certainly remember them because it was so unique. So yeah,
Exactly.
Great. Well, I cannot wait to subscribe to your podcast and learn more. So where do I go to do that? And where can I go to learn more about you and your agency and all of that good stuff?
Sure. So the easiest way to find me is at jeffmendelson.com, JEFFMENDELSON.com. The podcast is right there. You'll see a link right up at the top. You can also find me on on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Message me whatever, whenever. I love paying it forward. I love talking about this stuff, and I love just engaging with with different people and different ideas. So if there's something I can help you out with, let's talk. Let's see what we can do together.
Well, thank you. You've certainly been generous with your knowledge today. And I'll ask you for just one more thing. If you had one parting piece of advice on retargeting, what would that be?
You really do need to just start it, right? Don't be so apprehensive about it. It's not it's not going to make you rich, right? But it is the one thing that will make you a little incrementally more memorable. And it's so cheap within the grand scheme of things. In order to implement it, it really should be a slam dunk for everybody to do.
So just go do it. Jump in.
Just do it, man.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today, Jeff.
I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Visit contentmarketingengineer.com for notes and resources from today's episode. While there, you can subscribe to my blog, which will keep you up to date on new episodes and other resources for building trust and growing your business with technical content. Thanks and have a great day.